Hi guys, welcome back for week number 6. Just want to say that Paisley and Presley did a great job of answering questions last week. In fact, they got caught up on the last 2 weeks, so good job girls. And remember the rest of you to get busy and send me the answers to your questions either on Facebook or have mom or dad text me. It doesn't matter, just so that I know that you've answered the questions, okay? All right, we're going to sing about 3 songs this morning, and then we'll have our lesson. So we're going to start with Now Unto the King Eternal, okay? Now unto the King eternal, immortal, invisible, the only wise God, be honor and glory forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Be honor and glory forever and ever. Amen. And the next song we're going to do is For God So Loved the World. For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son to die on Calvary's tree, from sin to set me free. Someday He's coming back, what glory that will be! Wonderful His love to me. And our last song we're going to sing for today is I Am Determined. I am determined, I've made up my mind. I'll serve the Lord. I've left the world and its pleasures behind. I'll serve the Lord. I'll follow wherever He leads me. I'll serve Him wherever He needs me. I am determined, I've made up my mind. I'll serve the Lord. Okay, we just got through singing I Am Determined, I'll Serve the Lord. And this is what Steve has to decide in our lesson today called Job Wanted. Hey Steve, wait a minute, Bud called from across the street. A leap over the hedge and a dash, and Bud joined Steve as he walked slowly home from school. Hey Steve, I saw you talking to the district manager for the Herald a few minutes ago. Did you get the paper route? Asked Bud. No, Steve said, kicking a rock. He said there isn't any openings yet. He paused and then he continued dejectedly. I've got to get some kind of a job, and a paper route's all a boy my age can get. My tennis shoes are almost gone and I need new jeans. Mom and Dad will help pay for part of it, but if I want to get what I want, I have to pay the rest, and I just don't have any money. Conrad doesn't need that route. His folks have plenty of money, and all he does with his is buy some new extras for his bike or a few more model planes or cars. I know, Bud said sympathetically. I guess I shouldn't get so impatient. Steve gave the front gate to his yard a push. Mom keeps reminding me that since I've been praying for this job, I should wait and God will answer. But I guess I'm just getting tired of waiting. You really think God answers prayers? Bud asked in an astonished look of disbelief. Boy, I don't. I'd do something besides praying. Hey, say, I've got it. If Conrad would do a bad job of delivering papers, he could get fired, couldn't he? Well, yeah, but that's never going to happen. One thing I'll have to admit about Conrad, he isn't careless or lazy, said Steve as he sat down on his front step. Well, that's not the point, said Bud. You could write a letter and sign some of his customers' names and send it to the district manager. If he got enough complaints, Conrad just wouldn't have the job anymore. But Bud, Steve said, frowning, that wouldn't be honest. So what? You'd have a job, wouldn't you? Said Bud. I don't know, said Steve, looking a little doubtful. Just then Steve's mother called, and he bid Bud a hasty goodbye and went inside the house. Steve, you're running a little late today. I need you to go to the store for me and get a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk. And afterwards you better mow the lawn. Okay, said Steve. And then he added, I saw Mr. DeLacy, the district manager, again, and he said the same thing. No openings. I'm sorry, Steve, his mother said as she handed him some money. You'll just have to remember the verse in Psalms 37, verse 5. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Well, I'm getting kind of tired of waiting, but Steve mumbled as he went out the door. That afternoon, as he was mowing the lawn, Steve hit the side of his foot on the cement sidewalk, tearing open one of his worn sneakers. Looking at the hole, Steve said to himself in disgust, "That's it. I'm going to get a job no matter how." So as he mowed the lawn, he tried to think of what he'd write in that letter to Mr. DeLacy. "Let's see," Steve muttered. "Dear Mr. DeLacy, Conrad hasn't been delivering my papers very good, and he has missed me several days, and other days he didn't get the paper on my porch." That sounded pretty good. Guess I better write it down quick before I forget. So digging through his pockets, Steve found a scrap of paper and a stubby pencil and quickly scribbled down the words he had thought. Maybe I better put some more than just that, Steve said to himself. Maybe I should say, some of my neighbors don't like the way he delivers their papers either. Now, if I can remember how to spell neighbor. After he finished writing it down, he went back to the lawnmower. Steve's mother kept him busy the rest of the day, and it was evening before he had a chance to really write the letter. Now, how should I sign it, he wondered after the letter was carefully written. I guess a customer would be best. After looking at Mr. Delaney's address in the phone book, he addressed the envelope, got a stamp from his mother, and was all set to mail it first thing in the morning. Steve woke up a little extra early the next day, and his first thought was that letter. Somehow today it just didn't seem like a good idea. But one look at his torn sneakers as he dressed, and he decided, I'm going to go through with it. After breakfast, with the letter hidden in his pocket, Steve started for the mailbox 3 blocks down the street. But the closer he got, the slower he walked, and he was having a battle going on inside of him. Voice in his mind seemed to say, trust in the Lord. And another one seemed to say, you can't wait any longer, you've got to do something yourself. Trust in the Lord. Do something yourself. Trust in the Lord. Do something yourself. When Steve finally arrived at the mailbox, he still hadn't made up his mind. Suddenly a voice caused him to jump. Well, son, do you have a letter you want me to take? No, sir, Steve laughed rather nervously. I guess not. Crossing the street on a run, he headed back home. When he passed Bud's house, Bud stopped him. Well, Steve, did you decide to write the letter I was talking to you about? Yes, I did, said Steve. You did? Yes, Steve said, but I'm not going to mail it. Here it is. And Steve took the letter out of his pocket and ripped it into 4 pieces. I'm a Christian, Steve said, and it wouldn't be right to do that. Well, Bud said, I didn't think you could anyway. Got to thinking about it afterwards, and I'm not sure it had worked anyway. They probably would have just checked the complaints and had a talk with Conrad. So now what are you going to do? Just what I've been doing before, said Steve as he raced off home. Pray and wait on God. Dashing through his front door, he almost ran into Mr. Glenn, a man from their church, standing inside talking to his mother. Hey, you're just the young man I want to see, said Mr. Glenn. Oh, Steve's curiosity was aroused. Yes, Mr. Glenn continued. The company I work for is sending me to Seattle to work for at least 6 months. I don't know if I'll be coming back or staying after that time, so I don't want to sell my place just yet. And since I'm taking my family with me, I need someone I can trust to look after it. I've already talked to your dad, and he thinks that with his help, you can handle it. I have a garden, some fruit trees, a few chickens. Oh boy, was all Steve could say. You'll have to go out every day after school and on Saturdays and Sundays to fill the feeding and water trays with food for the chickens and gather up the eggs. You'll have to keep the lawn mowed and the flowers and the garden watered and weeded also. Do you think you can do all of that? Oh, I know I can, Steve answered excitedly. I'm sure you can too. Now, I will pay you $25 a week plus anything you can make from the eggs and vegetables in the garden you can sell at the farmer's market. Oh yes, and when the apples and pears get ripe, you can also pick those and sell them. But there's one thing first. Before you sell anything, eggs, fruit, or vegetables, your parents are to have all that they can use, okay? Oh, it sure is, Steve answered. Oh, yes, and one more thing. I know it's over a mile or so out to my house from here, so I'm going to let you use one of the bikes we have out there to get back and forth. By now, Steve was just almost speechless. All he could manage to say was, wow. Now, Mr. Glenn said, I have to shop for our Saturday's groceries, but I'll pick you up on the way back if it's all right with your mother. There are a few things I would like to show you out at the farm. I'll be ready, Mr. Glenn, and thanks a lot, said Steve. When Mr. Glenn had left, Steve explained, he did it. The Lord did give me a job, and a better one than the paper route would ever have been. And to think I just about didn't trust him to answer my prayers when all the time he said he would supply my need. You know, God always answers our prayers. Sometimes he says yes, sometimes he says no, and sometimes he says wait, like he did for Steve in our story today. Okay, we have some questions, and our questions today are all about the story, just some things we've talked about here. First question, was Steve tempted to write the letter about Conrad complaining about his paper route like Bud suggested? Was Steve tempted to write this letter about Conrad? Question number 2, did he write the letter? Question number 3, did he mail the letter? Question number 4, what 2 thoughts were going through Steve's mind as he walked to the mailbox? What 2 thoughts kept going through his mind as he walked to the mailbox? And the last question, and we've talked about this in our class before, what 3 answers does God give to our prayers? What 3 answers does God give to our prayers? You guys have a good week, and we'll talk to you later. Love y'all, and we miss you.
Jesus wants me for a sunbeam to shine for him each day. In every way try to please him, at home, at school, at play. A sunbeam, Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. A sunbeam, I'll be a sunbeam for him. Jesus wants me for a sunbeam to shine for him each day. In every way try to please him, at home, at school, at play. A sunbeam, Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. A sunbeam, I'll be a sunbeam for him. I'll be a sunbeam for him.